Alrighty. What did everyone think of that? Pretty funny video, thumbs up. Does it help us understand what climate change is a bit better and how our food systems are connected to it?
Lots of big words in there.
Lots of big words in there. A few big words, yeah.
Like, I feel like just saying maybe like you were talking about.
Oh, you've gone on mute.
Yes, my daughter was at the helm of the mute button, decided to mute me. So machinations.
Oh, she's done it.
Oh.
The kid session.
I give up.
What did everyone think about? What can somebody tell me something that they learned from that video? Yeah, Xanthi?
I learned that people who grow their food like closer to them, like people who grow food like a backyard garden or something, like if there was a crisis, they would be better off with the food.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. If we can grow more food closer to where we live in times of crisis, it means that food is close to where we are already, and it's going to be easier to continue to get access to good food, which is really important. Anything else? Any other ideas? Thanks for sharing that, Xanthi. Yeah. Well, the main thing that we're going to be looking at today is climate change, and particularly that sustainable development goal that we were talking about. Did anybody recognize any of the other sustainable development goals that we've talked about in the last couple of weeks? Yeah. So yeah, today we're talking about number 13, which we were talking about in that video as well, which is all about addressing climate change. So I'm going to pull up this thingy here.
What's your personal definitions for climate change?
I'll get to that. Get to that in a second. Cool.
Sorry.
We'll get there. Cool. Alrighty. Just loading. Can everyone see that? Once it's finished loading, it's taking a while. Doesn't want to load. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Look at Ollie. Look how cute he is. Little dog. This is Ollie. He's very cute. A beagle.
Maybe we can talk towards the slide. This comes up.
There we go.
There we go.
Alrighty. So yeah, we looked at that video. So, climate. Can anyone tell us what the difference between weather and climate is? Does anybody know? Anyone have any ideas?
How would you describe weather?
Yeah, Xanthi?
Okay, I think the weather's like kind of up in the sky, and it like so the weather is like when it will rain and what temperature it will be. That's controlling the temperature kind of. And climate change is, I think, it's also kind of controlling the temperature, but it's also like down underground and stuff, like in the soil.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's getting close. It's getting close. Does anyone else have any ideas? Sarah, do you have any ideas you want to share? Also, Xanthi, can you introduce us to your friend?
Yes, this is Jessa. Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you. Welcome to our live stream. Yeah, so the difference between weather and climate. weather is the short-term state of the atmosphere, right? So like, can anyone tell me what the weather is like today for them outside? Is it raining? Is it sunny? Yeah, Xanthi? Or Jesha? What's the weather for you guys at the moment today?
Really, really cold. It's not cold. It looks like it's going to rain, and it's windy, but it's not cold. It's cold.
It's windy, it's rainy, and it's cold. How about you, Hillary? What's the weather like for you today?
Ollie's favorite weather. Yeah, Ollie.
It's cloudy and it's a little bit sunny.
Okay, so it's sort of overcast. Is it hot or cold today for you?
Cold.
It's
A
cold.
little cold.
Okay, so today's cold. Now, why is the weather cold at the moment? What season are we in right now? Can anyone tell me? Yeah, Xanthi?
I think we're in winter.
Yes, very good. We are in winter. So in winter, generally, the weather is cold and it's rainy and it's wet, right? And so that is the difference between weather and climate. On any given day, the weather might be one thing. It might be cold or it might be rainy or whatever, but the climate has got more to do with the seasons and the way that the weather changes over the course of a year and also over the course of the lifespan of the Earth. So right now we're in the winter time, soon it'll be spring. The weather and the climate will change in a season over the year. So they're pretty similar, but they also have slight differences. So can anyone give me an idea of what they think climate change is, if we're talking about seasons and the patterns of weather over the course of the lifespan of the whole Earth? That's what climate is. And what do you think then climate change would be? Yep, Xanthi?
So it's like changing the seasons. So in winter it might get a bit hotter. In summer it might get a bit colder. So it might change the temperature a bit in different seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good answer. Sarah, Hillary, do you guys have any ideas? Yep. So Xanthi was correct. Climate change is when the seasons that we're normally used to start to behave differently than what we expect. And this is something that's occurring at the moment because of human intervention with the climate through greenhouse gases. Now, everybody knows, do you guys know what greenhouse gases are? Like carbon dioxide and methane. Does anyone know where those things are created, where they come from? Yeah, Hillary?
Cars.
Yeah, cars is the number. Well, it's one of the bigger ones, and it's one of the more prominently known ones. Yeah.
Factories.
G's got an answer. He wants to share.
Cows?
Cows. Yeah.
That's what Jetta said.
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
Great answer. Yeah. What do cows do? What do they do to produce methane?
They fart.
They fart. Yeah.
You know about it, don't you, Ollie?
Just like Ollie. Ollie farts, but he doesn't fart methane like a cow. Because there's so many people, because we're growing and farming so many cows to produce milk and also to produce meat to feed people, all of those millions and millions and millions of cows are farting and burping all the time, producing methane. And that's actually, it's actually changing our weather, which is pretty crazy.
Probably more coming from their burps.
Yeah. When Ollie farts, it just clears the room. But when cows fart, it actually changes our whole climate, which is pretty crazy. And what happens with the greenhouse effect, as you can see in that picture, is as more and more greenhouses like carbon dioxide and methane accumulate, they basically create like a blanket around the Earth. And the sun's rays, when they come and hit the Earth, they get trapped inside of that blanket. And they bounce around off all of the surfaces from the planet and the atmosphere, and they basically heat up the planet, right? And what do you guys think about that? Do you think that that is a good thing if things get hotter? I see some thumbs down. Yeah, it's generally not a good thing. We don't want the planet to get hotter because there's a whole lot of ecosystems, like we've talked about last week, that are reliant on the weather being very consistent. And when the weather changes and the climate changes, everything gets thrown out of whack. And we don't know what that is going to, what consequences that is going to have on our planet. So we want to avoid it if possible.
It's like almost like putting more and more blankets
Exactly, yeah.
on your bed.
Yeah, if you sleep with too many blankets, what's going to happen? You're going to get all sweaty. You're probably not going to sleep very well. You're going to have to change your bed sheets because you wake up and you'll be all covered in sweat. It's not very nice.
Yeah, no.
So, does anyone have any ideas why it's important that we try and stop climate change? Yeah, Hillary?
Well, if you also get too hot, once I slept in my dressing gown and I got bubbles on my skin.
You got bubbles on your skin? That's not good. Are you all better now? That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So, it's important that we try and prevent climate change. And does anyone have any ideas why? Can anyone think of any good reasons? Yeah. I can think of one. I live on the planet, and I want it to be nice to live on. I want to know that in the future, the Earth's not going to be so hot that, you know, I can't wear jumpers anymore. I want to be able to go and do some cool, you know, things that I have gotten used to doing.
Yeah.
And I want to know that
I'm gonna go skiing.
I want to go skiing. I want to know that the animals that I love and the things that I like to do and the things that I want my kids to be able to do are still going to exist, right? Xanthi, do you have any ideas?
I also think it would be good for it not to get too hot because the sun could burn all the vegetables that we're growing as well.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah. So that's actually like in that video that we were talking about, in the video we watched at the beginning, and climate change in agriculture. As the earth gets hotter, it actually makes it harder for farmers to grow food. Because what's going to happen, the sun will get too hot, and yeah, you're right, some of the plants won't get the water that they need, and they might not be able to grow as much food. And that's not very good, is it? We want to avoid that if possible. So there are many, many good reasons to avoid climate change. And so what is the best thing that we can do to address it? What do you think? What do you think that we can do? If we look at this picture here, trees grow by breathing in CO2 and breathing out oxygen. We breathe in oxygen and breathe out CO2. Okay. Xanthi, do you have any ideas what we could do?
We could try and use our cars less and find a different way for factories to work and try and run our cars fuel and other stuff.
Yeah. So there's lots of things that we can do as humans to change our behavior. We can drive less, we can eat different things, we can make our manufacturing and our transport more efficient. Those are all really important, really good things that we need to do. But does anyone else have any other ideas? What else could we do? Hillary?
Grow more trees.
Yes. Great answer. We could grow more trees because trees and lots of other organisms on this earth are really good at taking those greenhouse gases from the atmosphere and turning them into oxygen. That's what they evolved to do, right? And if we've got too many greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, we need to plant more trees.
How many new trees do we need to stop climate change?
Oh, I don't know. 10?
10?
10 more trees maybe? What do you think? More than 10? Any ideas?
How many?
Xanthi?
Jetta said 10,000.
Closer.
Yeah, Jetta said 10,000, and I say the same.
Sarah,
Um,
how many?
2034.
Oh, sorry, Hillary.
2000.
10,001.
10,001. All right. Well, my guess is 10, but I don't think that's probably not going to be correct. Gee, can you tell us how many trees we're going to need?
1.2 trillion trees. So trillion, that's a 1 and a 2 with 9 zeros.
That's a lot of trees. A
No.
trillion trees.
I think more than 9 zeros. I think more zeros than I can count.
Yeah. A million is a lot. A billion is even more. A trillion is so many. You can't even think about it. It's too much. It's too many. So
But there's 7 billion people on the planet.
there's 7 billion people on the planet, which is true. And if we all planted a few trees, we'd do a pretty good job. But
Calculate.
does anybody else know of any other plants or any other natural organisms that also do the same thing of taking CO2 out of the atmosphere? There are other plants that do this. Does anyone have any ideas? Any ideas? No? Yeah, Xanthi?
Maybe like certain plants like flowers and stuff, and maybe even some fruits and stuff, or the leaves of some fruit.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I mean, those would take out CO2. A lot of those are connected to trees, right? But what is the other, on Earth, we've got land with trees. What is the other major biome or the other major thing on our Earth where life grows? Can anyone guess? Yeah, Xanthi?
Soil.
Try again. Begins with O. Yeah, Hillary?
Ocean.
Yeah, very good. The ocean. So the ocean actually covers the majority of our planet, right? Like this, if you look at the Earth, has everyone's seen pictures of the Earth from space? If you look at it, it's mostly ocean. It's like over 70% ocean, isn't it? Something like that. I don't want to say,
Yeah.
don't quote me on that, but it's majority of the planet is made up of ocean. And in the ocean, there are these plants like seaweeds and algae and these really funny creatures called plankton or phytoplankton. Has everyone seen SpongeBob before? Like plankton? Have you know that? So plankton is actually a real, it's based off a real creature. They're not quite as evil as plankton and SpongeBob is, but they're really amazing organisms. They're super tiny. And
they get eaten by whales.
They get eaten by whales, yeah. Yeah, whales like to eat lots of plankton. But together, seaweed, algae, and other phytoplankton in the ocean produce more oxygen than all of the trees on the Earth combined. That's pretty crazy, eh? Did you guys know that? Yeah. So look at this like little graph down here. We look at that. You can see land plants, so trees and flowers and bushes and our microgreens as well. They only take out 25%, they only produce 25% of the world's oxygen. However, marine microbes and ocean plants essentially produce 75% of our oxygen. That's pretty cool, eh? Yeah. Does everyone know what we're talking about when we say, like, everyone knows what seaweed and algae is before? Have you guys seen that? Have you ever been swimming at the beach and you've had a bit of seaweed touch your leg and it's kind of gross? Has it ever happened to you?
What else can we do with seaweed?
There's lots of things. It's not just a gross thing that touches your leg when you're swimming. It is an amazing plant. It produces heaps of oxygen, takes lots of carbon out of the atmosphere, and it grows really quickly.
Can seaweed be used to stop cows from burping?
Yeah.
Well, what do we think?
Yeah. So there's actually been some pretty cool. Yeah. There's actually been some pretty cool trials where people have put seaweed into the diet, into cow food. So they feed cows like a specific diet with seaweed, and it reduces that methane that we were talking about before. So when they burp and they fart, they don't produce nearly as much methane. It helps them digest better, which is pretty cool.
What does seaweed feels like when you pick it up off the beach?
Xanthi?
Slimy, and Jetta said nasty.
Nasty.
Nasty?
Yeah, Sarah, Hillary?
Pretty disgusting.
And rubbery.
Yeah, a bit rubbery.
Yeah. So
Don't you mean lovely? Rubbery? Lovely? No?
yeah, it's got a really good elasticity to it. So, and scientists are now figuring out how to make plastic with, or a plastic replacement with seaweed.
Yeah. So all kinds of cool new products, like you can make biofuels from seaweed, you can make plastics, you can make handbags, you can make, what else could we make? I don't know, maybe we could make clothes with seaweed. I mean,
Slime.
we can make slime. We can make all kinds of things with seaweed. It's a really cool material.
Yeah, so definitely want to remember as one of the major solutions for climate change is seaweed. What was the other one we said before? Before we talked about seaweed?
Trees.
Yeah, trees.
Yeah.
So we got trees and seaweed, and later on we'll come to one more big one.
Sarah?
Hillary has a fruit that
Coconut.
Coconut.
Oh, yummy.
Thanks for sharing that.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
It's so healthy.
All right. So we're going to do a bit of an activity now to do with our oceans. So we've talked all about water and the ocean, and how the plants in lots of plants in the ocean do lots of really cool things to help produce oxygen. But our oceans are also under a little bit of threat at the moment from a thing known as ocean acidification. So we're going to do a little experiment. Did anybody prepare their materials for the experiment, or was it just us?
Sandy? No.
No. Okay. Well, why don't we bring this nice and close so that you guys can see?
Excuse me, my mum asked, what do you need for it?
Like red cabbage, but it needed to be boiled beforehand, so it's pretty hard to do now. But we'll show you, and then you can trial the activity. You can test the activity later.
Yeah.
So, do we know what a red cabbage is? A vegetable?
Cabbage that's red. It's a cabbage that's red.
It's a cabbage that's red. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can buy that at Coles, at Woolworths, or at your local farmers markets. And basically, when you boil red cabbage, you get like a purple liquid. And
Right, just going to stop that so that you can see nice and big.
so this is basically the water that had a red cabbage boiling in it. So, and it's nice and purple. And afterwards, after it's been boiled, and we let it cool down. And now we've got 4 glasses with purple liquid. Can you all see that? And what we're gonna do, red cabbage liquid is very good to use as a pH indicator. Who has been testing the pH in their fish tanks?
Yeah, Xanthi?
Yeah. Sarah, have you guys been testing your pH?
What? Maybe.
Think so. Hope so.
Me or you?
So I've got one ingredient here which is called bicarb soda. What is who can explain what bicarb soda is? Have you used it before in cooking or in
Yeah. Xanthi?
class?
Something my mum said. You know what? Say what you said.
So bicarb soda is very alkaline, so it's got
Yeah.
a very high pH. So we're going to see what happens to the cabbage once we add a little bit of bicarb soda in there.
Do anything? Might need to add a little bit more.
It's going to take some time.
You can kind of see it in there. It's gone blue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go.
See,
It's a bit hard to see on screen, but it's going a blue color. Try.
Yeah, we need some light.
Can you see that? It's kind of hard to see, but see there? See how that one's like,
Maybe shine through it.
yeah. See that? How it's like a blue color? Look at that, it's gone blue. Whereas this one here, it's bright purple.
So from the moment our cabbage water turns blue, it means that the pH is alkaline, which is a high pH. Now, what are we going to add next?
A little bit of white vinegar.
Vinegar? What does vinegar taste like? Has anybody tasted vinegar?
Yeah, Hillary?
I tasted it I tasted it with lemon juice, oil, and an avocado. And we put some vinegar in the middle and we scooped it out, and it was very, very yummy.
Yummy.
Yeah, awesome. What about the vinegar just on its own? You reckon that would taste yummy?
Do you want to try it?
Sometimes
I'm a-
not. Sometimes not.
Tried it on salt and vinegar chips.
Yeah, the salt and vinegar chips are awesome.
It's very acidic vinegar. So it's very sour. So we're going to pour a bit of vinegar into our second glass. Which color is this?
Is it gonna? You see that? No.
Pink! Pink!
It's pink. Look at that. So it's gone from purple to pink. That's pretty cool, eh? Looks pretty awesome, doesn't it? Hillary's stoked about it. All right, so we've got blue, and now we've got pink when we added alkaline and acidic compounds to our cabbage water.
And for the third one, we need a straw. Like, I couldn't find a straw, and I didn't want to use any plastic straws. What's a good alternative for a straw? Does anybody have an idea what we could use as a straw?
Xanthi?
Do you have a metal or a bamboo straw?
Not on us, unfortunately.
I wish, but we don't have one, so we've got to be more creative.
Show them what you're going to use.
A pen. I'm going to take it apart. I'll take the top off and the bottom off, just temporarily. I'll put it back together later on. And now I've got a straw. I can use it once and then turn it back into a pen later on. What am I going to do next?
What do you think we're going to do with our third jar? We're going to blow some bubbles into it. And remember how we've been talking about carbon dioxide? The things that the greenhouse gas that's going into the atmosphere and into our oceans? Well, we produce carbon dioxide, right, when we breathe. So when G breathes bubbles into the thing here, he's going to put carbon dioxide into the water, and maybe it'll change color. Who knows? We'll see. Let's find out. One hour later.
I hope that was long enough.
Second check.
Maybe our cabbage water is too thick.
Yeah, it's pretty thick. That one doesn't look like it's changed, does it? That one's still pretty purple. You want to try that again? Try again.
Feel pretty silly.
Right. Has that changed color at all?
I think it's got a bit lighter.
It's got a little bit lighter.
Can you compare it to the one that has?
This is our control. They both look pretty similar.
Let me just confirm which one. Oh, we got to blow for 2 or 3 minutes.
All right, so we have to blow for quite a lot longer than we thought we were going to have to. So we might just skip that one. But you can try this at home and figure out what color it will change into yourself. But the point of the exercise is to talk about what's happening to our oceans and what the oceans do in order to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
I'll keep blowing.
G's going to keep blowing. We'll see how it goes. But what happens when carbon dioxide is taken out of the atmosphere by the ocean? But also, our oceans are not able to do that as well if they get too acidic or too basic, like we showed with these two. So if they go, imagine these are our oceans, right? And this one's got all this baking soda in it, and it can't do its thing properly. This one's got heaps of vinegar in it, and so it also can't do its thing properly. So we need to look after our oceans and make sure that we're not putting too much random stuff into them so that they can do their amazing work of taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and producing lots of oxygen for us all. So yeah. Just waiting for G to finish blowing lots of bubbles. Might take a while. Is it changing?
Yeah.
Is anyone going to try this at home, do you think?
It's supposed to turn red. Right. Maybe you guys should give it a go with your moms and show us a better way to do it.
Maybe you could use your air pump from your. Maybe you could use the air pump from your hydroponic setup and use that and blow bubbles into it for a while. But yeah, the point, like G was saying, the point of it is it's supposed to go red, and that shows what happens when too much carbon dioxide goes into the water, and it's too much for the ocean to be able to turn into more oxygen. So it's something we want to avoid as well. We basically want to look after our oceans and make sure that they can be in a really pristine state in order to do what they do best, which is take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and turn it into fresh, clean oxygen that we can breathe. Right, G?
Totally.
Yeah. So
Cool.
back to our slide, and then we're almost done.
We talked about seaweed.
Awesome. So, with climate change, what do you think that we can do to fix some of the problems that we've been facing with it? Does anyone have any ideas? If you look at this photo or this picture on the slide here, actually one of the best things that we can do to address climate change is to empower women, to empower you guys. Because women actually really play a key role in looking after and managing our societies, as well as giving birth to babies. And family planning and educating women about how to look after their families better actually plays a really massive role in the health of the climate, which is pretty cool. And then some of the other things that we can do, transition our transition our energy into more things like more sustainable energy using things like wind turbines. We can reduce our food waste. We can, eat different things. But what we wanted to try to show you with this, what we wanted to show you with this exercise is that there's actually, and in talking about the ocean, is that there's actually lots of natural solutions that we can use in order to address climate change as well. Does anyone have any ideas of like what we were talking about before with like planting more trees, things like that? Does anyone have any ideas of like kind of natural solutions that we could use to address climate change? It's a bit of a big topic, so it's hard to think about. Well, basically what we can do is we can work with our natural environments like our oceans in order to help them do what they do best, which is take carbon and take greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere, right? Yeah, Zemthi?
So my mum said Jenna just did it because she got a blanket on when she was cold instead of putting the heater on, which would take electricity.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
That's a huge one. Just like behavior, like things that we can do differently.
Well,
Yeah.
One little plant to look for that you could grow on your farm or home is called azolla. Have you ever heard of azolla? Well, it's actually a really powerful little plant, and it's an Australian native plant, and it's a little fern that grows on water. And you can find it in wetlands and in rivers, and you can actually grow that on your fish tank. And the good thing about azolla is it's the plant that's got the power to change climate change by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because millions of years ago, when climate change was about to happen again, was about to happen, there was a huge azolla explosion, and this little plant was growing everywhere, and it took so much carbon out of the air and put it back into the soil.
Mm.
And that stopped climate change from happening. So,
yeah. So like with what we were talking about before with seaweed and algae and plankton, which are all really good at taking CO2 out of the atmosphere and putting it into the ocean, into the bottom of the ocean floor. This plant here, azolla, is amazing at doing that. It's really, it's basically evolved to do this perfectly. And what we're trying to say is like, we can be really hopeful about climate change, about addressing and solving climate change, because nature actually already has all of the answers, or many of the answers and solutions that we need to solve it. We can work with nature and use the best parts of nature to help address climate change, using those plants like azolla, helping our oceans to thrive, and so that all of the planktons and the algae and everything can actually do what they do best, which is keep our planet healthy. What do you guys think about that? Does that sound pretty good? What's one thing that you can all do today to try and look after our planet? You have any ideas? Yep, Xanthi?
What
Me
about food?
and Jenna are going on a bike ride after, so go on a bike ride instead of using cars.
Yeah. And if you were on your bike ride and you happen to like see some rubbish or something, maybe you could pick that up, you know, that kind of thing. We've got to get into the mindset of looking after our environment so that our environment can look after us. How about you, Sarah, Hillary? Do you have any ideas what you could do? It's okay if it doesn't come to you right away, but it's something to think about. What can we do to learn about our natural environment in order to help it so it can help us in that ecosystem? I'm going to be riding my bike today as well. I'm going to be eating a nice plant-based meal.
Yeah.
I'm going to be looking after my farm system at home, trying to grow more food. Yeah, Hillary?
We have a bushwalk near us and just across the road, and so that's a lot of nature in there too.
Yeah, totally. That's cool. It's cool to go hang out there as well, and just be surrounded by nature. Yeah.
Nature has all the solutions.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to say. Nature has amazing solutions, and we can try and we should do everything that we can as humans to change our behavior, but we also should do whatever we can to make sure that nature has everything it needs to thrive, because then we can create a healthy planet that's going to be able to look after us. And that's kind of like what we've been learning about all these last 14 weeks, 13 weeks, is that it's a cycle, right? It's an ecosystem, much like our fish tanks at home. The way that we interact with the planet is it's a relationship. And yeah, it's pretty cool to think about it that way, don't you think? Anyways, I think we're getting pretty close to the end of the session, so we might wrap it up. But has everyone enjoyed today? Has everyone felt like they learned something? I can see Hillary's nodding. Some thumbs up.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And we probably should just mention, we did say that this was going to be the last session, but that was it's actually not. We've actually got one more session next week.
Next Saturday. Yeah.
Next Saturday. That was my mistake. I got confused. So one more to go. This is us. Thanks so much for joining today. And yeah, we hope to see you all next week for our last kids session. And yeah, what's everyone getting up to today for the rest of their day? Everyone got anything cool lined up? Yeah.
We're just, like we said before, we're going on a bike ride. Yeah.
Awesome.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Hillary?
Jump on the trampoline.
Yes, that's awesome. That was my favorite thing to do when I was your age. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for. Oh yeah, and Sarah. Sarah, what are you going to do later today?
I'm going to help teach my dad how to shuffle dance.
How to shuffle. I didn't know shuffling was still a thing. Oh, that's fun. Looking forward to seeing that next week. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks,
Alrighty.
guys.
Thank you everyone for joining. Hope you have a great
Have a nice
great night.
weekend. See ya.
Bye.